Well, welcome everyone. This is Chris Welch with Stephen Lyles with Bushland FM, and man, we are excited to come on live today to talk to you about the 2023 season.
It's crazy to say it's already the 2023 season, but excited. A lot to jump into today, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. We got a full agenda, so let's just jump right in and kind of give you a few updates of what's going on. We've had some changes. One thing is you're used to going to YouTube to watch the games as of last year. We're going to change that. We're going to go straight to bushlandfm.com / or forward slash live.
Live stream.
Live stream is what it is. We'll put the link out there. But that's exciting. So we'll be able to control that content. And I think there's kind of one thing you're going to have to do the first time you go out there, right, Stephen?
Yeah, you'll need to register the first time you go, and from then on you'll log in. And what that allows us to do is, in a day and age when there's film and technology everywhere, not all of our sports, especially volleyball being one, is shared everywhere.
Yeah.
And so what this will allow us to do is not bring games down immediately off of Twitter and make them private. Football is not that big. There's film everywhere, but when you get into sports like volleyball, especially where there's only so many set formations you can run, just having a place for y'all to be able to consume the content and watch it on demand, but also for us to be able to protect that film, for maybe a lack of better words. So you will have to register. I don't think on a normal day the experience will be much different. We always post a YouTube on our Facebook. We'll do the same thing. We'll post a link on our Facebook. You'll be able to come and watch, but it will be kind of a gated content where we can keep that up and kind of control who watches it.
Yeah, and so if you bookmark that main site the first time you go in, you can go back to that same site every time. It's not a different link like it would have been in the past. It's the same link. So that's a great change. So the platform we have been using went out of business, and we no longer have the ability to do instant replay. So we're switching back to the platform we've been on for quite a while. In fact, all of our volleyball, baseball, everything we do is from this platform. So we're going to go back to that platform for football now. But they've had some changes in there. So we upgraded a little bit on that. And so we're going to be able to do what's called a remote production. That's going to allow someone in a remote place to actually control what goes out. So they'll be able to run the commercials. They'll keep up the score for us. Steve and I can focus on the game. And so when we have to go away for technical difficulties like we've had in the past, we won't have to contend with a lot of that this year. We're going to be using Starlink as our main internet access. So that'll be the same no matter where we go. We don't have to worry about tagging into a press box or to another school's internet access. We'll control that ourselves.
There's nothing like trying to track down internet away games.
Yeah, so that kind of comes out of there as well. Last thing I'd say is a new scoreboard with a clock this year if all goes well. So instead of having no clock, you rely on us to say, where are we in the second quarter? We'll hopefully be able to keep a clock up to date. Pretty slick looking scoreboard with nice graphics and backgrounds on it as well. So just a couple of changes. And then we've had some great new sponsors that have come on board, and we're excited about that. In fact, today, I want to thank Procreate, who's not a new sponsor. They've been with us. We are thanking them for sponsoring today's preview show as well.
And every single one of our sponsors from last year also came back. And I think that's a huge thing because as that grows, it's allowed us, like you said, to upgrade our technology and almost using the same system that ESPN used during COVID of remote broadcasting games.
Yeah.
And so excited about that.
And it'll give us ability, hopefully, we'll be able to get cameras in other locations as well on the field in different places. We're working on that. What does it look like? Getting people to maybe hold a camera in other locations. We'll see how that goes. But
right now, dealing with the heat.
Yes, exactly.
Beat the Falcons, y'all got a field level view until the heat over.
That's right. And so that was one that actually prompted us to go to Starlink. We can use actually cellular technology to do that. But what happens when you get a stadium full of people and you get 3,000 people all show up and start pinging on the same cell tower, then degradation goes down. So with the Starlink, we're actually able to broadcast that signal, and only we use that signal. So that is one of the reasons we're switching to that. And we've already tested at the stadium, and we've gone goalpost to goalpost and had a good signal. So that's all good. And another big change I'm going to throw it to Stephen to talk about is our coaches show.
So in years past, football has always been a coach's show. And we're grateful that Coach Reynolds cuts out time every single week to meet with us. But one of the questions we've always got is, why not other sports? Obviously with school schedules and doing them on a Friday morning and just, one of the things that's unique about our school size is all of our coaches still teach. And so working and aligning schedules is tough. And so we are going to go to a Monday night live coaches show where it's going to be hosted at Mitch's Barbecue from 7 to 8 p.m. every Monday. And what that's going to allow us to do is not only focus on football, but focus on all of our sports. We'll be able to invite athletes every week. Maybe we have a new sponsor who's going to be sponsoring the local legend player of the game, local legend outfitters here. And so we'll invite those players on, hopefully be able to become more well-rounded. One of our goals over the past year or two has really been to try to cover as much. And it's hard. This is a volunteer labor of love that we do. And it's hard to be in all the places, but the more that we can try to celebrate our student athletes, because that's really why we do this,
Absolutely.
Is giving us a chance to promote and celebrate all the great things that our students do. And so being able to go to a live show outside of school hours, outside of practice hours, we hope will allow us to even do a better job at that.
Yeah, so and speaking of sponsors, we're going to take a little break here to let you hear from some of our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Procrete Construction is a regional concrete place and finish company designed from the ground up to give you solid professional service. Based in Amarillo, Procrete serves residential, commercial, and industrial construction industries. High standards of professionalism and quality are our benchmarks. We know your construction project requires a company that is equipped with the tools, knowledge, and experience to complete the work as promised with a focus on details. Call 806-318-3820 or go online to learn more about Procrete Construction at procretenow.com.
Well, welcome back from that quick break to hear from our sponsors. And once again, we're very grateful for them because a lot of what we do, we can't do without them for sure, without a doubt. So speaking of volleyball, which we talked a little bit about including them, Stephen, what is going on with our volleyball team this year?
Obviously volleyball season's in full swing. Those girls kick off early. And, they play, Coach Culpepper builds a gauntlet of a schedule. And they've been playing 5A, 6A teams all over the place. And just last weekend, this is a new squad. And I don't say new as in like everybody's new. This was a large senior class that graduated last year that had a lot of experience. Two of those girls had walked away with 4 state medals, 2 golds, obviously back-to-back state champions their sophomore and junior years, and then a bronze and a silver. And obviously coming up just a little short against Gunter last year. But you're seeing a lot of new faces. And so coming into the year, you wondered what it would look like. And Culpeper didn't take it easy on them at all.
Yeah.
And so, for example, just last weekend, they were in a tournament in, oh my gosh, where was it? It was Central Texas. And my mind just
took a blank?
It did. And that's just why we have notes, and I should have written down where it was. But so they're playing, they get all the way to the championship game, defending state champion Liberty Hill from 5A. They meet them there. They come up a little short, 25-23, 26-24, which tells you that was a slugfest, back and forth match. But you're seeing a lot of faces that were familiar from last year, but that they're really taking on that leadership role. I think that the culture that Coach Culpepper has created is it's always next lady up. And as soon there's no leadership void because it's developed through the system. And Abby Howell and Mackenzie Sims both named all-tournament team. Abby had 65 kills. Mackenzie's stat line was incredible. It was for tournament-wide, it was 110 assists, 30 digs, and 46 kills.
Wow.
She really does just about everything. And so they're in full swing. They just had a doubleheader last night with Dumas and Lubbock Coronado. They're at home at the Nest. They defended the Nest well with sweeps against Dumas and Lubbock Coronado. But it's good. And the volleyball rankings for we just posted them, I think yesterday, maybe the day before, but they just got released for week 3. It's crazy to think that volleyball's already in week 3. Lady Falcons, despite graduating 8 seniors off of a stellar senior class, the number 1 ranked Lady Falcon volleyball team in all of 3A.
And who's right behind them? Gunter.
I think it was.
Yeah.
And so, now I'll tell you, Gunner lost a lot too, but it is becoming perennial where those two, you throw in Columbus,
Yep.
they're stout. Now, we think we graduated a lot. When you look around our region in volleyball, Holiday, who we have played 4 consecutive years in the regional final,
Yep.
Holiday graduated 12 senior girls. The entire varsity roster basically graduated. So it's going to be interesting to see what Region 1 holds, but once again, I think when we look up playoff time, it's going to be the Lady Falcons making another run at state.
That's exciting, and again, they just continue to reload year after year after year. So that's super exciting. All right, well, Culpeper doing great things over in volleyball. So let's talk about
Glen Rose tournament. Sorry, thank you, man. Glen Rose tournament.
Well, let's talk about football. So Coach Reynolds, great year last year, getting into the 3rd round last year in the playoffs, and
man, we were this close to December football.
Yeah,
At
so
halftime, you're thinking this is all right. And just kind of Brock did what Brock does.
Yeah. Brock does what Brock does, and that to me, I look at it and say, if you look, and this is probably our last year to have Brock, unless we go up as well. But good chance Brock should go up to 4A. Well, they were.
Oh, they're so far over the numbers. I don't even think Brock can do the funny math to get under that. And you always heard that same thing about Highland Park in Dallas of how did they stay 5A for so long. And I feel like Brock's that same way. It's like, how in the world are y'all still in 3A?
Yeah, so good chance they'll be up. But, that's for us. Brock gets all the way state championship last year. Loses to Franklin. And what a good game that one was, too, by the way. But, that seems to be our next hurdle. We took care of Wall a few years ago and got over that hump, I think.
What a way to take care of Wall.
Yeah. Oh, and I posted, if you haven't seen that, go back and watch that video. Highlights, for sure, of broadcasting. But so now here we go. So we're kicking off. We graduated a lot of people last year.
21 seniors. We talk about 8 volleyball seniors. 21 football seniors graduated.
Yeah. So for us, when I look at the team this year going into the season, a few question marks. Offensive line.
Yeah. Graduated 3 of them.
Graduated 3 of them. So that's a big retooling that you have to do. Defensive line, pretty good. I think we got Charlie Pitt coming back. You got Fuentes coming back. Both of those anchoring in there. But running back, right? We saw a lot of AJ last year, but Fuentes back in there running back.
Alive, does he look?
And he's a hoss.
Easton Fuentes running about 215, maybe 220, and man, he is a load. And you talk about one man not being able to tackle a guy. I look forward to. You've seen glimpses of it in the scrimmages, and Colton Reynolds as well. He had an explosive one against Canyon where he goes into the pile and he comes out the other side.
Yeah, that made a highlight from TV.
And it's then once again, Reynolds has kind of built the same culture Culpeper has. It's next man up. And we think, and it's funny because you read all the prognosticators and Dave Kim's, all these things, and they expect it to be a down year because you graduate. And let's be honest, we graduate not only 21 seniors, but a lot of talented seniors.
Yep.
But it's really next man up, and we're seasoned at the key positions. We return DJ, starting quarterback, first team All Emerald Globe News preseason quarterback. Obviously, like you said, Charlie and Easton are there on that defensive line. You still got Austin Ryder. You've got Jackson Phelps. Those 2 guys can bring the house. I think
Charlie defensive MVP, right?
Yes, Charlie was named the preseason defensive MVP coming in, and so a lot of exciting pieces coming back.
But if you look at Charlie, just before we get off here, he's a 4-year starter.
Yes.
I mean, he came in partway through his freshman year, and he earned a spot up there. And I mean, he played with my boys, and it seems like my guys haven't played in years now, but he did, right? And so he's a 4-year starter. So that's a big thing. So a lot of pieces need to come together. We've got a lot of new receivers for DJ to throw to. So how does that chemistry start to develop? You've been at both the scrimmages, and I think, a little struggle early on, but that's to be expected. When you've got new receivers, there's new timing that has to be. You've got running back that he hasn't had in the backfield last year with them. So all of that just takes a little time to kind of gel together.
And I think one of the things that sometimes we forget, because there have been some sloppy moments, for lack of better words, in the scrimmages. But that's what scrimmages are for.
100%.
Like, you want, as a coach, and you've coached football just as I have, you want those are the games that you want to see the mistakes.
Because that's your teaching moment.
Exactly. You're stretching them. You're asking them to do things that maybe they don't do
Yep.
well, or maybe and it's not unlike a coach to go to his quarterback and say, Jeff, I want you to try to force that in. Let's see if we can get that in there. And if we can't, then we don't want to do that on a Friday night. But we need to see and test some of those things just to see how they would look if we did them. And so I don't put a lot of weight in. Now, let's be honest, not only do we have a bunch of new players, graduated 21 seniors, but we have never entered a season of Bushland Falcon football without Coach Mayfield, Ty Mayfield, on the sideline. And this is our first time ever. There is a philosophical difference in our defense that we're seeing as Coach Holt. It's crazy to think that the shallow water game was the first time we'd ever had a game without Coach Mayfield. So here's your steady, and let's be honest, I guess it's been, 7? Maybe this is the 8th year that we've been in that 10-1. I think it was about 7 years ago we really switched to it.
2017, I think we switched Trent's senior year, if I remember right. I think we switched 2017.
And and Mayfield ran 10-1 all out. I mean, he brought the house. And this year, Coach Reynolds, and he talked to us about he wanting to go after somebody that kind of had that similar mindset. We talked about it when I interviewed him before Midnight Madness, that he went looking for that. But also, even though it's the same base formation, there's a philosophical difference in Coach Holt. And you talk to the players, and they're like, man, it's requiring us to think more. Like, we're not just pinning our ears back and going. And I think that some of the rough edges that we've seen in scrimmages, man, by the time we get to district, look at that defense is going to be able to adjust on the fly.
Yeah, so speaking of new coaches, so we've got Kip Holt coming over. He's a defensive coordinator. He came from Brock. So excited to have him on board. And then a name that many of you will know, and we know as well, but Clayton Heatland, Bushland grad, he's coming over, and he was at West Plains just last year.
He was.
Was it 2
little
years?
sabbatical. No,
Yeah.
The year before he actually was with us
That's what
calling
I thought.
basketball games.
Yeah.
And then, went over there with Coach when he went over there, Cogburn. And so coached basketball, and then obviously when a position opened up, he came home.
Yeah.
And
So we're super excited to have Clayton back on staff here. So a few changes there. So changes always bring about differences in how you do things, and personnel shift on defense a little bit with Coach Holt. He's moving some guys around that are probably out of their comfort zone. They've been running in a normal spot for them for the last couple of years, and now they're moving to new spots. So all that's just a learning difference. The other thing I said, let's talk a little bit about the first game. So last year we catch West Plains, first game of the year for them as an entire program, right?
Exactly.
Never played a game together as a group, never played a high school varsity football game. And we catch them. Interesting press leading into that game. We were laughing at it a lot last year. Most picked Bushland to lose that game. Bushland just exposed them having their first game. Now, West Plains goes on. They make the playoffs in 2 rounds or 3 rounds?
I think they went 2 rounds deep before they hit Wichita Falls, and Wichita Falls clipped them. But ended up winning, 7 games last year. And
we talked about it at the time. We said there's a lot of talent on that football field. And they did graduate, but I think their running back is really solid this year.
Hernandez is a stud. Reed Macon, their quarterback, about midway through the Bushland game, they went to the freshman. And I told you in that game, Parker is in that same class, and we've coached against him since 3rd and 4th grade. And the kid is as talented as they get. And now he's only a sophomore with a year of varsity and a playoff run experience under his belt.
Yeah, it will not be the same game.
It will not be 52-6. I do not believe. Now, I would love for it to be, and if it is, I think it's an even bigger statement than it was last year because this West Plains team is going to be good.
Yeah. Keeping it into our preseason, we've got Canadian, obviously.
Number 1 ranked 3A Division II Canadian.
Cavaliers, I think offensive MVP from Amarillo Globe News right now. So that will be a great game. It always is a great game. But a
little coaching change. Coach K retired for some health reasons, and Coach Cavalier, who obviously, that's a name. If you've been in this area, you know the Cavaliers, and they know football, and so he will have them as ready as Canadian. And we see those guys because Cameron and Preston and Luke, they all come down to air it out with Parker, and they will tell you they've had this game marked circled because they've won
2 in a row.
2 in a row to us. Like those guys that came up to varsity as sophomores that are now seniors, they've never beaten Bushland, and they want to. Like they want us, and they want Gunter, and so just about equally, and so they will be ready week 2.
Yeah, so that's exciting. Let's talk about district a little bit. For me, it's shallow water. That's they graduated quite a few as well, including their huge offensive lineman.
No, he's back.
Oh, is he back?
Casey Long is back. He was a junior. Now that big center that held Charlie the whole time, he did graduate, and but they do still have Casey Long. Okay. They're going to have some weapons.
Right tackle,
shallow water. They've been moving him around a little bit, but he played left coming in, and then if you remember, they actually shifted him to guard, and they would run power. It was everything they could. Now, obviously, you have to scheme differently against Bushland when you have Charlie Pitt and Easton Fuentes in the trenches. And I'm going to tell you right now, when they need a break, Holt Humphreys and Jake White they're just as big and just as mean and just as strong. And it's funny, you meet like Ryder Grace just did the photos for the senior moms and senior players, and you meet these guys, they're the salt of the earth. They are the kindest kids. And if you saw them in the community, when you hear me say mean, you wouldn't think that. But man, when that whistle blows, there's a mindset. As your boys were linemen, there's a mindset that kicks in, and it takes a mean between the whistles guy to play in those trenches.
I still go back to the interview last year with Charlie.
I choose violence.
I'll wake up and choose violence, right? So that was good. But yeah, to your point. And so that's the game to circle from a district perspective. We finished second in the district last year.
We did.
Because of that. And
First time in a long time.
First time in a long time. So for us, that's the game. But don't discount Muleshoe.
They're entering their 4th year with their coach. He's built a program. They are solidly the number 3 team in the district. And if you sleep on us or shallow water, sleep on Muleshoe, they have the power and the program to sneak up and beat one of us.
Yeah, so I think that's your 1, 2, 3 right there. Again, we're going to have to really step it up with shallow water. We're going to have to play really well. So I think it comes down to us in shallow water unless Muleshoe just pulls off a surprise. Which they could, but I see it coming down.
And we can't sleep on Dalhart, and here's why. Kyler Reed is an absolute stud.
Yeah.
And he plays linebacker and quarterback, and he reminds me of Tim Tebow.
I think we said it last year during the game. If his receivers could have caught last year in that ball game,
a lot of drop passes.
Different ball game.
Absolutely.
Because he hit some open receivers multiple times, and they just couldn't hold on to the ball. And that was scary. We're watching it, and it's nice to have that bird's eye view of the game because you can start to see this stuff develop, and you're starting to sweat a little bit, and they're dropping that. But yeah, to your point, he's a great quarterback, and he can drop it and he can run it. Either way.
River Road had a down year last year, but I'll tell you, they've worked their tail off. They've even created a program all the way down through youth, starting track and just looking to build athletes from a very young age. And I think River Road will be back. That group, they'd sure like to make a run at the playoffs. And so I think that 4th slot will come down to Dalhart and River Road, but I just like Dalhart as a 4th seed in our district because as long as you've got Tyler Reed at quarterback, you've got a shot at just about anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about other teams just in the Panhandle. You hear a lot about Sunray, their quarterback.
and he's not even a senior, if I'm not mistaken. I think Lujan's only a junior. He's been throwing. Now, here's what's interesting. I saw him as a freshman. We actually hosted the Sunray playoff game 2 years ago, and I was the in-house announcer for that one. And you talk about a kid that can sling the ball. He's pretty special.
Yeah.
And so obviously not a ton of weapons. If he had our receiving core last year, he'd have doubled his output.
Yeah, so Sunrays there, Canadians obviously there, again, from a powerhouse team. Who else we got up here? Dumas will be an interesting one to see what they come out with this year. It's going to be a slugfest between them and West Plains, probably.
You felt like they were keyed up last year. They had the quarterback and had the receiver, and for some reason, it just, sometimes you have those years, it just doesn't seem to click.
Because he's good. I mean, he was good.
He was. And obviously, West Plains, I just think West Plains, especially in 4A D2, and this is the year they got to take advantage of it, because I don't think they'll stay Division 2 with the realignment coming. You mentioned it earlier. Realignment's coming in October, and we'll talk more about that when it gets close. But until realignment gets here, when you look across Region 1, we still got to deal with Brock.
Yeah.
And now here's the one benefit of this year with Brock. They graduated Moody, their quarterback, who has has a state champion. I don't think they won. They lost both times they got to state, but they've been to state twice with him. And then they had that running back safety, Reed Watkins, who is an absolute champion. He transferred out to Episcopal. And so he will spend his senior year at the Christian school there right outside of Brock and that Episcopal Christian Academy. So they lose two big. Now, here's the reality. They got Cam Harris at defensive end. And he's their version of Charlie Pitt. Yeah. And as long as you got him, that defense is going to be pretty stout. We know that they'll reload. They always do. Heck, they got 100 more kids. They're going to find some more football players. But there's another one in our region that we can't sleep on, and that's Paradise.
So Paradise had a great season last year.
They did.
Surprised a lot of people with Paradise coming up.
They returned 17 starters off of that, including their dual threat quarterback, who was all district. He's being named. He's like the Cameron Cavalier of that area. He's being named everything because Cav's getting on. Rightfully so. Cavalier is an absolute stud in the Panhandle, where he is that down in that Wichita Falls, Texel, I think they call it Texoma area. And Paradise is going to be stout. It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, it is. So lots of great football this year. We're excited to get that underway. We'll do our first coaches show next Monday after the game, but we'll kick off, I think, 7 p.m. on Friday at home. And so we're excited for that, for sure. All games should be at 7. We'll try to get started around 6:30 on normal, 6:30, 6:40. With it being our first game, I'm not going to guarantee 6:30. But
first time to have a remote producer and all that, it'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So I tell you what, we want to wrap up and announce something big. And this is something, and I'm going to credit Stephen for kind of coming up with this idea. We've been blessed from a sponsorship perspective. Stephen and I both have day jobs. We don't do this to make money. We do this to cover expenses, first from a sponsorship perspective. So we really wanted to give back because if we've got excess, we're not out to make anything. It is our goal. We just want to make sure our gas gets paid for, and we can pay, like our remote people that are working a little bit, and our camera guy a little bit to give them a little money in their pocket. And that's really about it. But Stephen had a great idea, and I'm gonna let you introduce it, and then I'll pop a little graphic up.
Obviously, we were blessed last year in the playoffs against Jim Ned, we got to share the booth with Coach Thomas, Coach Jimmy Thomas, and
more blessed than we ever thought a couple of days later.
Exactly. And we've both known Coach Thomas a long time. Consider him a dear friend.
Huge supporter of us starting this broadcast program in the very, very beginning. I can't say enough of how much he supported us and continued even after he left to support us and text us and call us. So
And it was fun for me, my first year broadcasting, because I get texts and he was at Channing, and I kind of came in with the Reynolds era, I guess you'd say, I was the second year, but he texted me, and you always knew he was watching and he always had a particular insight, and but he passed a few days after. If you got to watch the Jim Ned game, if you haven't, go back and watch it on YouTube. If you don't know Coach Thomas, and just an amazing man, a man that has poured into many of our kids. Yours especially.
All three of my boys played for Coach.
Parker never got to play for him, but man, he would always pull him aside because, like I said, we've known each other a long time. We love their family. Jared worked for us his senior year, and when he passed, it was how can we find a way to honor him? He was the little field coach when he did, but he spent years helping build this program into what it is. And I know he was always still a phone call away for Coach Reynolds and leaned on him. And so just a major influence on not only football, but just on everything within our community, who our young men became. Coach Thomas understood that football wasn't the end-all be-all, but football was a way to connect with young men, to help raise them, to be great men of faith, great men of family, to develop into the men that we all hope our sons grow into. And so we are this year going to be kicking off the Bushland Falcon Media Jimmy Thomas Memorial Scholarship. And so come May, we'll sit down, we'll have an application process. It obviously will include athletics because that was one of Coach Thomas's passions, but he also was about so much more than just being on the field. And so I want to share a little bit of your thoughts because I know y'all had a great relationship as well.
Yeah, this is really exciting. And the one thing I'll say that Coach Thomas instilled with his coaches was, our goal is to raise good men, right? And to really take these from boys to men and prepare them for after high school, right? Because we all know in the end, the chances of going one level up to play college is really slim. And so his goal is, I want to coach them to where they'll be great athletes, but I want to coach them to be better men and I'll say better Christian men. And he didn't hide that fact. So, just seeing that through my three boys was just amazing, and the relationship that we had. And, and there was a lot of kidding back and forth. Him and my wife just teased each other constantly. He thought our pug was hilarious. We post pictures of our pug all the time. But, that night, and we've talked about it quite a bit, that night was just a lot of fun. It was a lot of laughing, a lot of smiling. Jared was in there with us as well, and I think the comment was, man, I hadn't seen Dad laugh and smile that much in a while. And so that was really neat. But just to be able to share that moment, man, the last Friday that he spends on this earth was spent 4 hours with us. And doing what he loved, which is talking about football and the camaraderie that goes with that. But again, as a coach, you change lives. And his impact, whether it's when he was in South Texas all the way up to Northwest Panhandle, he was impacting lives along the way. And so if we can give a little bit back in his honor, and then I think this is just a great opportunity to do that.
Amen.
So, well, I think that's going to wrap it up. So we'll get more on the scholarship as that comes out and how that interview will go. And Stephen and I'll be part of that. Hopefully Kayla will be part of that, and Jared as well.
Congrats to Jared.
Yeah, Jared.
He's going to be roaming the sidelines down in Morton, Texas. Coach Malden, our Coach Malden's brother, who actually coached under Coach Thomas, got the job down in Morton, and Jared's down there as the quarterback coach.
Yeah, so exciting for him. He's an X's and O's kid.
I remember just a funny story real fast about Jared. I remember when Coach Thomas called me and said, hey, Jared wants to do what you do. And I said, well, let him come work for us and see if he... And I'm like, but does he understand in marketing you have to talk to people about more than football? And, Jared is a pretty reserved young man until you get him talking football. And then it just opens up. And so I'm excited that he realized that, I believe God created each of us for a very distinct calling. Jared's home is on that sideline. He's gonna carry on that Thomas legacy in the football world very, very well.
Well, thanks for joining us, Falcon fans. We really appreciate that. We're super excited to get this season kicked off. Lots going on, lots of moving parts for us. But as always, our goal is to bring you the game when you can't be there. We love for you to go to the game and then watch us later, because that's always a good thing. I tell you what.
I get a lot of people that tell me they listen to us while they're watching the game. Because sometimes it's hard to see who's doing what, and they like to listen to us and watch the game live.
So we're excited to get this season kicked off. Hopefully this preview show kind of gets you excited and gets you going for that. But more to come on a lot of this. But thanks again for joining us. And as always,
go Falcons!